Hello and welcome to this episode, The Cost of Not Saying Yes to Your Gift. I'm Wendy De Rosa. This is a big topic. I'm still actually processing this topic because there's some profound stories that I want to share in this episode. And it's a big one. It's a big redirection inward on a lot of levels. And so I'm going to share with you some stories, one of which was about meeting Alicia Keys last week. And so I want to share this. So I don't know if you've been following me on Instagram or wherever. I'm an Alicia Keys fan. What can I say? And I I have seen her live previously, and there was this opportunity to meet her in person. And so and to go to this soul care session that was prior to her show here in Denver. And I got the tickets for my husband and I thought, this is it felt like a once in a lifetime chance. Now I don't know if it is or isn't. Who knows, doors open. However, for me, I felt the yes. And so we went ahead and got these tickets. And 6 months later, the show is happening. And we go into what I think is going to be her promoting her skincare line. She has this skincare line. And I thought, okay, we're going to go early and we're going to learn about her skincare. That's the soul care session. That's what I thought it was. Well, we get into this, it's like the VIP area, and it's this level, and there's a section where there's food and there's a bar there, and people are gathering, and there were some, her skincare line was there, but then there's this other little section that's has curtains closed, and they had said, this is the meditation yurt that we're going to go into, and that's where she's going to talk with you. So the what's going to happen is unraveling for us, and I think everyone who was there was in the same boat I was, which is that we just didn't know what to expect. And so finally we go into the room, and there's meditation cushions everywhere, and there's a couch, a little sofa in front, and then there's these two screens with like music playing and videos of different things, different images of people, of humanity. And some of it was her skincare. And then we had been there for a while, waiting for her. And then we noticed, oh gosh, she's back on stage doing sound check. She already did sound check. So now we're waiting a little longer in the space, still having no idea what was going to happen. But then a crystal bowl session starts. And so we start to experience this crystal bowl session. And then shortly after that, it's like the tour managers come in at this point, preparing us for what's to come. And and saying things like, if you have anything to give to Alicia, give it to us, don't give it to her directly. We're still COVID protected, and kind of giving us the lay of the land on what to expect. And then shortly after, Alicia Keys walks in, and we're all in awe. I'm assuming I am ever, cheering. And she walks in literally right in front of me and sits down. And here we are in this eye contact with her. She goes around the room, makes eye contact with everyone. And there was this opportunity to write a question before we went in there. She prompted a question to write the answers to a question, and she used that to sort of navigate this discussion. And the discussion went deep. It was, it was, you could ask her anything you wanted to ask her, but she was really guiding sort of a layer underneath. And the question was, if you could ask anyone, dead or alive, a question, what would it be and why? And so people had written different answers, but there was this one person, she had written a question saying something along, I'm going to have to paraphrase it, but it was something along the lines of, why did God, or I think she used the word Jesus, give me what, or give to me what I delivered to me what I had now, or something like that? Why was I given what I was given? That was essentially the question. And Alicia Keys was like, whoa, that's a big question. And then this person went on to share about a mental health issue that they had several years prior, and how they had to, her mom had guided her to church and said, would you go here? And she said yes. And then it opened up some doors for her to go further in her own music. And so then she proceeded to create an album and make, go into her music and her gift and her craft. And she was very profound. And of course, she's having this conversation to Alicia Keys, and I'm having this moment in that space where what was happening for me is a lot of things. I mean, that I'm an empath, I'm an intuitive, so I'm feeling a lot, but I also really feel the subcurrent. And whether I turn this off or not, it's part of my gift. I read the room and I read what's going on that deeper core level within. And this question dawned on me, and I wanted to say it to the woman who was talking to Alicia Keys, and said, what could you imagine what would have happened if you did not say yes to your gift? And I thought that same thing about Alicia Keys. Could you, thank God you said yes to your gift. Could you imagine what would have happened if you did not say yes to your gift? Where would we be at this time in our lives? And I wanted so much to bring that forward in the space. And we all had our hands up. And while I got, called on for something different previously, it wasn't that question. And I really wanted to bring it forward. So anyway, the session was amazing, so profound, ahas, and just very, very beautiful, potent, powerful time. She was so grounded. She was so present with us. She was so real, funny, all of it. It was really wonderful. So afterwards, they have us usher out of the room, and we have to go back into the room 2 by 2 to have a picture taken with her. And there's all these protocols, and it was so cool to see how they manage it all and do it all. It was really well facilitated, well practiced. So anyway, we were right with the woman who had asked the question. And my husband said, thank you for sharing that. That was really powerful. And she said, thank you. And she looked at me, and I said, I really wanted to ask you this question. What would have happened if you did not say yes to your gift? And she went, whoa. And she took a step back, and she said, chaos. Chaos would have happened. And I said, yep, chaos. Chaos would have happened. Thinking about all the times in our life when we might have ignored the calling or the gift or the intuition, and chaos happens. So it had been flooding through me, such gratitude for, in this moment, someone like Alicia Keys, or any person who impacts our life, to really say yes to their gift, and how much that's not just about us, but it's about all the people who get to benefit by us saying yes to their gift, by someone, in this case, Alicia Keys, saying yes to her gift, and the profound impact that she's had because she said yes. Now, a lot of her messaging in that space was about protecting your light and owning your energy and staying very clear in your energy, and staying true to yourself, and not listening to your intuition, not overriding your intuition. I mean, these are messages that, I have books and YouTube videos on. I mean, we've been talking about this for a long time, and it was so amazing to hear, that someone at that level is addressing energy and intuition at this level, and really you speaking the same language. And I just thought of all my students, we would have been in that room. I felt like you were all with me on some level, because we would have said gosh, she's speaking our language. All my friends, all all of the School of Intuitive Studies, we would have been yeah, you're with us. Like, this is what we do. This is what we talk about. This is kind of the core message of, where we are on our journey in our personal growth and personal development, spiritual growth, and in our intuitive development. So it was just really profound to be able to hear her say that. But throughout the evening, I kept feeling into my own personal experience with saying yes to my gift. And I've talked about this in my intuitive healer training program with students when they ask, like, how did you get into this? How did you move forward in as an intuitive and as a teacher and into everything you're doing? And my response at the time was, I had to say yes to it. I had to say yes to my gift. And it was a literal time period in my life where I had to say yes to it, because what was actually happening for me was the opposite. It was anxiety, it was panic attacks, it was consumed by trauma. It was the feeling of depression, severe depression, anxiety, panic. And and what I didn't know at the time, because I had no modeling or language for it, and I was young, I was in my teens. It started in my early life, going through my teens and my early 20s, is that I was profoundly intuitive. I was musical. I was a writer. I was a speaker. There were all of these aspects of expression of my light that I had no idea was really there. I just knew I needed to move in those directions, but it wasn't like somebody was saying to me at the time, Wendy, you have a light, you have a gift, and you have to turn to it, and it's going to have various expressions. You aren't going to fit into a box. So if you follow down the path of the box, whether it's academia or whether it's corporate or whether it's some other system or box, you're going to have a hard time with that, because your gift has multiple expressions. You're an intuitive, you're a teacher, you're a leader, you're a singer, you're a storyteller, you're a writer, you're all of these things, and you're a creator. And it's going to have a hard time in following a particular trajectory. And guess what else? You're a mystic. So that means you're going to need a lot of alone time to be able to foster this. Gosh, I wish there was language for that back then. It would have saved me a lot of headaches, heartaches, pain, and shame and betrayal and banging my head against the wall all those years. But we're human, and we've got to walk through the fire, and we've got to go through our tunnels of darkness to be able to heal and explore and uncover the shadow also. So I had a lot of shadowy times. But in this journey, what I remember about my gift is that I was starting to understand that something was opening up for me. And it was in my 20s. I had some ahas, some major awakening moments, one of which was my angel story. I've told that previously in my podcast. I've talked about it in my book, Becoming an Empowered Empath. And in my other book, Expanding Your Heart. So I'm not going to go into that story, but it was a game changer and a life changer. After that story, I had moments of walking on trails in the mountains near where I lived in Colorado, places I was called to, and I would have profound openings. That's the best way I could describe it, is these profound openings. And these openings were moments where I could feel the divine. I could feel what I call God. God, not in the religious sense, but God in the sense of this profound sense of clarity, of boom in my heart. And I remember my guidance, my higher guidance, my inner guidance saying, are you going to say yes to this? Because if you say yes, doors will open. And if you say no, you're going to continue to swim upstream. At the time, I was battling between, do I go down this road of pursuing music where I was getting like brutally more wounded inside myself by myself, meaning I was wounding myself? Or are you going to go in this direction of healing work and intuition where you're helping a lot of people and you have a gift to impact more people if you say yes to it? And so I ended up literally one day looking up at the heavens, the sky, it was the stars actually, it was nighttime, and saying, okay, I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll say yes and I'll do it. And after that, there was a pivot. And the pivot was I was working a part-time job. I let it go and I trusted. And as I trusted, more clients came. And where I was worried about paying the rent at the time and bills by letting go of this part-time job, not only did more clients come, but I ended up making more to cover my expenses and to live, moving in this direction of healing work. I was already doing it, but I wasn't trusting it, that more could come or I could step into it full time. And so I did. And then the doors kept opening. I kept getting referred to. I kept building relationships and I started to listen to my clients who wanted to understand more and learn more. And I developed more trainings, more writing more books. I started to try and teach, or I started to teach because students were asking questions. So I would create more based on the information that was coming. And I started the school and I started to move down that journey. And where I got caught again was gosh darn business, the business of running a school, how to run a business and be a healer at the same time was definitely another contraction in my life and a place where I had to relearn the power of listening to yourself and your intuition, because I turned to a lot of guidance, a lot of external guidance from people who walked before me or people who could see from the outside in to me where they thought I needed to be. And I put a lot of power and a lot of trust into being led and guided by people who I believed knew more than me in the business. And not that any of that was a mistake, because it absolutely led some of my journeys. But what I do regret is not listening to my calling, myself, and trusting my gift. Because from the very beginning, when I was 12 years old, I wrote about this in my book, I ran a business. I nannied and babysat for 21 families. Running a business was actually something I've intrinsically known how to do and have that ability to have that awareness and that knowledge or that skill set and that ability. But I lost sight of it, learning how to wear two hats, be the I say this, and this is business terminology, but I was being the product and I was running a business, and that was so challenging for me. And so I went through a lot of pain in my business, not listening to my intuition, not listening to my gift, not turning to my light. I could use my light for teaching and for helping others, but when it came to me and running this business, I lost my light. I lost my connection to myself. I lost my gift. I didn't lose it all. I just ignored it, didn't turn to it, was afraid. And so that chaos ensued, that sense of losing power inside myself during some years in my business is something that still has an ouch and a recovery. And I started to realize more towards this time period of that where a shift really needed to happen. Like it needed to happen. I needed to let go of all of it to allow a major crumbling, to major redirect inside myself. I needed to be able to reorganize within myself and put myself first. the other part of this is that I run the School of Intuitive Studies, and in that business, Wendy could hide a little bit. She's the teacher, but she is also running a school. And at the same time, there's a Wendy De Rosa person, and there's a Wendy De Rosa facilitator and business leader and coach and healer and author and speaker that needed to come out of the shadows and really start to be more in the foreground. The guidance I had heard was focus on Wendy De Rosa, and it had two meanings. One meaning was Wendy De Rosa, the person. The other was Wendy De Rosa, the brand. Wendy De Rosa and who she is in this role of someone who carries the light for herself and has a gift to give on this planet. And so, long story short, my whole Alicia Keys experience was observing someone who embodied their light, their gift, and their commitment to their self, and being unbashful about leading from that light, about being really connected to that light, and her language staying true, but protecting that light. And me taking that transmission as a reminder. Sometimes we need, like, the guidance is there, Wendy, you need to focus in this direction, but you need that outward representation of what it looks like. That's a role model. You need a role model, someone who embodies a mental image and picture of what it looks like. And that's what this whole experience was for me. And my guess is that's what this whole experience even was for this other woman that, shared about their musical journey, was having that awakening, that same awakening of turning to their gift and being able to allow that. And it was just this like really profound circle. And I don't know if Alicia Keys intended on her soul circle being reciprocal in that way. But there's always something about going around the room and sharing in community. But then there's this deeper, more profound layer that had occurred in that space and around it. And maybe we all just showed up at the same place at the right time to be able to receive that deeper energy medicine. And I walked away saying that experience was energy medicine for me. It helped alchemize a lot of what I have been through and with over the past, several years. And also this power shift within, saying, in me personally, saying, you have permission to focus on Wendy De Rosa and allow that to come forward more, even as a brand, as who you are, and that there is a place for you, whether you're talking to business owners or whether you're talking to individuals or teachers or therapists or whoever, that leading from your light, Wendy, is courageous. And it's oftentimes what we all need to hear. So I pose to you the question to think about, which is, what happens when you don't follow your gift? And you can insert gift, you can swap out gift with light or intuition or infinite potential. Some people love that phrase, some people don't. Swap it out with what feels right to you. But what happens? Think about all the times where you didn't follow your guidance. You didn't listen to yourself. And that's interesting because sometimes there's healing that might need to happen. There's a process of grief, and I betrayed myself. I didn't trust myself. I feel disappointed in myself. Like, there's feelings about not following our inner light. But the acknowledgement that it's there, that you have a gift and you have a light, and it's informing You and your actions and how you're going to shift and how you're going to actualize who you're here to be, that in itself, once you turn to it, that is also a healing. That is a redirection from deep within, a reorganization of life. How do I now turn to my light, allow it to lead me, allow it to guide me, allow it to be the intuition that's informing who I am, and how do I not betray myself and by ignoring it or not listening to it. So that's our message. That's my work. That's your work. That's our work. And I believe that our world needs us to do that work, because otherwise we become consumed. The second the light dims, we dampen it, we put it out, we ignore it. We are consumed by the collective. We're consumed by trauma. We're consumed by the monkey mind, the doubt, the fear. It takes over. And do we have wounds to process? 100%. We're human. We all will have our history to process and heal. But we can't heal it with a dim light. We need that. We need to be able to cultivate that power, that center of intuition, that center of brilliance. And I've always believed that when I teach intuition in my energy healing and intuition training, and, through my programs, is that the intuitive work is about cultivating the central channel. It's about cultivating your light, and all the work that goes into cultivating that light, the process of that, the unfolding of that, the guidance on that, what that actually means. That's everything I go through in the energy healing and intuition training. Just so you know, if you need to know how, that's the program to turn to. It's on my website if you need to know. So this is the cultivating of the center. How do we turn to our light and allow it to lead us from deep within, inform our actions, and actualize who we're here to be? I hope this supports you. Many blessings. I'll see you next time.